Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of What Lies Ahead, a conversation that the Bay Club is having with its members and the community about becoming an essential business in phase one now of what we're calling the reopening of America. It's been an interesting week this week with the White House announcing their plans and our governor beginning to start the conversation about what it's going to take for business to come back up. And as we have said before, we continue to work diligently to get our clubs to a place where they will be safe spaces for members when we are allowed to resume business. Today, we have the pleasure of introducing you to some of the members from our South Bay clubs. That includes Los Gatos, San Jose, Santa Clara, and Redwood Shores. And I'd like to, before we do introductions, just give some thank yous. There have been a couple members that have written in some very thoughtful letters this week. Steve Sato, Kevin Kuba, and Deborah Fowler. Thank you for your kind words, your suggestions, and your interest in what's happening in the business in the South Bay. So, as always, let's get started with introductions. First, I'd like to introduce you to Robin Vanderloot.
Hello, everybody. I am Robin Vanderloot, Senior Vice President of the San Jose campus. I started way back in the day. At Courtside, it was my college job, and I was attending San Jose State. I was an athlete. I lived in Los Gatos and naturally gravitated to picking up some hours at the front desk. Little did I know, doing a little bit of everything over the 4 years of my time there would lay a phenomenal foundation for my future career. So I went on to become a member for 13 years and had the great pleasure of coming back in 2013 as Vice President General Manager, and went on to work with Lyda Dickerson at Boulder Ridge to oversee both Courtside and Boulder Ridge. So it's been an amazing journey, and I'm very excited to be here speaking with you today.
Great, thank you for joining us. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Tony Silveria.
Hi, Tony Silveira, a member at Courtside, actually joined in 1975 when we had a trailer out front. So one of the original members that have seen the transition over the years from the growth of the club to the whole family concept, which they've continued to do. I got very active in the tennis community as a result of Gordon Collins. Became the chairman of the first board of governors at Courtside, involved as the president of the Northern California Tennis Association, served on the board of the United States Tennis Association. Had businesses in the area and presently serve as the chair of the board of trustees at the Good Samaritan Hospital. Very much part of our life is that whole Courtside community.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Lyda Dickerson.
Hello, my name is Lyda Dickerson. I have, excuse me, I have been with Boulder Ridge for about 11 years. Both me and my two daughters work for Bay Club, and worked my way up from the front desk up to the VPGM, and plan on sticking around for quite some time. And we have brought on John Peters, who's been with us since 2004, him and his wife is on our advisory board. So thank you, John.
Thank you. Next, I'll have Mr. John Peters introduce himself.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Lyda. As Lyda mentioned, my wife and I have been members at Boulder Ridge since 2004, about 16 years. Although it sounds like a long time, when I hear people like Tony being members since 1975, I feel like a newbie. My wife and I are pretty active at the club, generally try to play 3 or 4 days a week, and Judy's the better player. She keeps my ego in check. But thank you very much for inviting me to participate today.
Thank you for joining us. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Michael Crockett.
Thanks, Annie. I'm Michael Crockett. My wife and I, Carla Brania, have been members of the club in Redwood Shores since the early 90s. It has really become a destination, more like a family environment for us. We have many, many friends, gone through many people having children, watching their kids go off to college and graduate. And so it's very important to me and to my family that we are able to have input, and the senior management of the Bay Club facilities want to listen. And so I'm feel very fortunate to donate my time to your effort as you're beginning to open up this new phase of what business is going to look like at athletic clubs. And I'm glad to see that the Bay Club is trying to take a leadership position on this.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate you being here this morning. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Klonick.
Thank you, Annie. I've been a member since 1984 of what used to be the Decathlon Club is now the Bay Club Santa Clara. The person next to me in the Hollywood Squares here, Jennifer Van Mucky, actually got me into spinning, and I've been doing that since forever. But I've really enjoyed the club. I particularly enjoyed the people, and I'm particularly impressed with the leadership and their responsiveness to the membership. I think that's kind of unique in this world where service industries have become so systematized that it's all a pattern. I also like the fact that they have really, as you will hear, adopted a lot of innovation with respect to this response to what I would consider a black swan event, a very unusual occurrence. And I think it's really encouraging to see how hard they're working, and it makes me want to help them as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next, I'll introduce you to Jen Van Mucky.
Thank you, Annie. So I'm currently the VP GM at Bay Club Santa Clara, but I initially started here in the mid-90s as a member, and then eventually started working for the company in the early 2000s. So this holds a special place in my heart and my family's life, and can't imagine being anywhere else, and really appreciate the conversation today with all of these members that have been part of our communities and continue to support us as we head into the new normal. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'd like you to meet Todd Kramer.
Morning, everyone. Todd Kramer here, oversee the Peninsula Campus properties, which includes Bay Club Redwood Shores and Bay Club Broadway Tennis. I've been on the Bay Club team for about 7 years. Primarily before being here for about 2 years, I was up in Marin with a couple of properties there, but thanks to great members like Michael, they make you feel like you're a part of the community from day one. Extremely proud to be a part of such a passionate group of leaders and the ladies that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. I think here specifically at the Bay Club, what you'll find is, you know, the passion of the members and the associates from the top to the bottom is really something that we can all be proud of. So thanks again for the opportunity to speak here.
I appreciate that. Okay, boss, I'm going to hand it off to you to kick off this conversation.
All right, great, thanks. Well, we had a chance to talk a little bit leading into today's conversation offline, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to be with this type of a panel today. Both I've got my veteran, this is my the team that when I chat with the South Bay leaders, I always call them my veterans. They're my PhD or my master degree leaders of the organization, and I count on them an enormous amount. And we've got 4 panelists today that are longtime founding members of our various properties and bring an enormous amount of knowledge and wealth, not only for our clubs, but also from our community. So thank you, everybody, for doing this with us this morning. Tony, I'm going to start with you. We're very much intrigued in your involvement with Good Samaritan Hospital, and you've watched this as the first responders have really been, you know, out there trying to figure out how to handle this situation. You had some good initial thoughts you'd like to share with us as we kick off the dialogue today.
Thanks, Matthew. You know, and it's an honor to be with the balance of this group. And I'd like to again say thank you for your efforts in terms of what you're trying to do and bringing the healthy part of our lives back and make it active in a way that the world is going to change, and we'll just have to make those adjustments. But in terms of the local community, I very much involved in a couple of things I'd like to suggest. One would be that we put some signs out in front of each of the facilities that the public can see that says thank you to the first responders. There's so many of them, and I'm sure many of them are members of each of these organizations. So just a thank you to them on an ongoing basis, I think is important. I'm looking forward to the welcome back. I'm sure it's going to be, whatever that first day is going to be, it's going to be a happy day, not only for the Bay Club folks, but certainly for all of us members. And you know, it's exciting. I mean, I think this is, you know, often we look at, you know, John talked about the downside. Well, let's look at it from the upside. You know, this is going to be an exciting time for us to make this and get our families back together. And certainly we're all looking forward to that. We as a group at Courtside have been family members, and there's core group there that's been there a long, long time. And they're all waiting to make this happen. And we look forward, and again, offering up any help that all of us can offer. It will certainly make it available to Robin, Gordon, the balance of the club at Courtside.
Great. So I know one of your passions has been working with Gordon Collins, our head of tennis for the company. He's been there at Courtside for over 40 years. And you've really participated on the tennis side of the world, both with NorCal USDA and USDA. Thoughts, questions you have for Robin on sort of how we ramp up the tennis side of the world and bring that on?
Well, you know, certainly we're looking forward to getting back, particularly the people that have played doubles. You know, it's more than just playing tennis. It's that whole social activity. We'll go into the cafe after, or Tuesday night is beer night after the match, and those are the things that we're looking for. And I understand about the social distancing and the limitation in terms of the number of people that can be together. So, you know, we're looking forward to seeing how it's going to be handled. You know, we have that doubles match, and then, you know, that maybe the wives join us and we'll have a cocktail or something like that. So how that all is going to be strategized and how we're going to be able to do that in a way that meets the rules and the regulations is something we're looking forward to. And I'm sure Robin will help us make that work.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for being a member since 75. You'll hear on today's panel, we're having a competition on who's been around longer at the different properties. So it's unbelievably appreciative. RVD, you want to chat about some of as we sort of think about opening up the facilities, the work that's being done by the team and the document that members can expect to see here pretty soon?
Sure, absolutely. So first and foremost, we know how incredibly important it is for our members to get back out on the courts for their mental and physical well-being. So we are very meticulously pulling together a plan to make that happen in a very safe manner. Really, it's, you know, we're putting measures in place such as wearing a glove on the non-dominant hand. You know, a tennis court is 7,200 square feet. So certainly ample space for singles and doubles to spread out and, you know, honor the social distancing that will be needed during this phase 1 and beyond period. You know, there's really minimal contact in the game of tennis with surfaces, which is the really good news. But bringing your own can of tennis balls, you know, making sure that you stay at the front of the court while your partner stays at the back of the court, or vice versa. You know, we will have sanitization stations on every single court, so wiping down surfaces, which is, like I said, are minimal. The benches, the gate will have sanitization teams that will be instrumental in the exchange process. We will be making sure that court reservations do not overlap or come too close to each other, to make sure that there's a safe exchange in and out without any crossover there. We're thinking through clinics, we're thinking through lessons. We have a really good plan in place to facilitate small groups very effectively in a clinic format as well, for both adults and for youth. In terms of the socialization aspect, which we know is an enormous part of the tennis game, and that community at Courtside is so strong and have been together for so long, as you had mentioned. So we'll be looking to facilitate those aspects as well, by honoring the social distancing, but those pieces will come together as long as we can do it in a safe manner, respecting the CDC guidelines.
Great. Mr. Peters, we were chatting earlier. First of all, thank you for Judy and your membership over the years, and glad to see you again, even though it's not in person. You were giving us some interesting thoughts as we had some dialogue before we started to film this session about your thoughts on communication. Can you give us some of your thoughts of what you would like to see from a communication perspective from the Bay Club?
Sure, Matt. First of all, let me just pass on some kudos. I think the Bay Club's done an excellent job in maintaining a dialogue with the membership through these What Lies Ahead webinars, and I encourage you to continue those, as you will be doing. Also, I really appreciate the tremendous effort that's been put into the planning process to figure out how to bring each club back online and stay in compliance with federal, state, and local regulations. And third thing I'd like to just comment on, because it's important to all the members, I believe, is the effort you've put in place to maintain employment relationships with the associates, the folks at the front line in particular, that make everything happen on a day-to-day basis. I know it's been tough with the financial situation that is very different today than it was 2 months ago. But support of those associates, I think, is just key to make sure we can turn the clubs back on and deliver an experience that the members can really appreciate. My comment during the pre-session was around how best to communicate what life is going to be like for each club's membership as each of those clubs comes back online. I think these webinars are a great way to interact with the members and deliver information prior to opening. But the key, I think, is to set expectations for the members properly going into the opening of the new clubs, and having a proactive communication, I think a group email type communication with attachments as appropriate to detail what to expect during arrival, check-in, engagement at the club, what to expect regarding food and beverage service, if any, during that process. And again, how to do all that within the guidelines that have to be maintained. I think that proactive communications prior to opening a club would be great. The other point I'd like to sort of just ask, if it's appropriate,
sure.
If Lyda maybe could comment on not just communications, but for Boulder Ridge specifically. I think the members are all interested in understanding what's going to be fundamentally different about the golf experience during this period of time that we have with the coronavirus. If there's anything you can comment on today, great. If it needs to wait for a while longer, I appreciate that as well.
Great. It's great. All right, Lyda, this is a big softball for you, given we've spent hours upon hours on conference calls working on these documents. So let's start with the documents.
So this is our each club individually has an SOP that we break down that starts from the very second you get on property to walking through the course and then exiting off of property. This place has always had a very, very warm, welcoming feeling, and we plan to keep that feeling going, but just implementing structure during your time on property to ensure that safety. Communication has always been, since Bay Club has came on to Boulder, has always been pretty open and transparent. We had the incident with 13 and 10. We started doing our weekly communications out to the membership, and it really helped build that confidence in the company. So a good combination, like Matthew said, of online presence and that direct communication out to help walk you through what you're going to be expecting on the course. And then, I've had multiple phone conversations with you during this whole entire process. So that one-on-one communication with the members goes a long ways. 5 minutes of explaining what the process is. And when you call in and book your tea time, or when you do it online, everything will be broken down. So there's not too much of a shocker for you when you get on property.
So a couple follow-ups for you is, one, the members should know that we are publishing our documents to the federal, state, and local authorities on Wednesday morning. So we're delivering those documents to have final approval. We don't want to send them to the membership base prior to having that sign off with the local, federal, state, and local governments. We do have direct, immediate communication with them, they're very, very focused on helping this part of the economy wake up. Mental health, physical activity is super important. Bay Club is looked as one of the leaders in the country, not just the West Coast. And so our documents are definitely being used as a prototype. We've really studied the whole side of the grocery and big retailer side to build these documents. They range in probably 25 to 50 pages, and it'll be very easy to follow. It'll take every step of the club for each member to know what their expectation should be, to blend this safety and socialization world together. And so we'll see those come out here middle to end of next week to the membership base, at least a week in advance of us opening up the doors. And then we'll be taking phone calls, doing Zoom meetings and things with the membership base to keep educating them, but we'll publish those documents. Number two is just a quick one on golf. I think we've come up with golf carts are going to be sanitized, not unlike shopping carts. So if you're the same family, you can use the same cart, but you can't if you're not from the same family. So it'll be one person per family per cart from that perspective. Number two is we are going to have the cups set up in ways that you won't have to actually reach into a cup and to pull the ball out. There's a couple of different scenarios that we're working on. We were originally not going to allow bunker play, but we are going to allow bunker play, and we're going to put rakes on the bunkers, rakes on each one of the golf carts. So each person will have their own rake. When they're done, those will all be sanitized and then put back into circulation as part of it. So interesting part is you should see limited no change as far as your golf experience. The course is going to be in amazing condition because we've aerated the fairways, the roughs, and the greens, and we've kept the entire staff on during this time period to take care of the properties. We are going to use the properties from 3 o'clock on, portion of the properties of each one of the golf properties for family programming. And so the fairways will have picnic-like family programming initiatives that'll be introduced as part of it. But we're excited to welcome you guys back and see smiling faces coming through the gates of all the clubs here soon from that perspective. All right, Mr. Crockett, you come from the life science side of the world. You bring a lot of expertise for us on how we're going to think about testing our employees, how they have some things that are on the edge. We were talking about it earlier that are close on the social distancing side of the world. Comments, thoughts, feedback?
Well, I again, in alignment with John and Tony, kudos to you and your staff for taking a proactive sort of stance and position on this, because mental health is really not being talked about enough. And as the long-term members stated, that we actually aren't just a club or a community of people. So opening back up it's nice to see that you're taking this leadership position. Also very glad to hear that you're following Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx's recommendations. They are really world-renowned experts. And when they speak, I'm glad to know that you guys are listening, because they're giving very solid advice. With regards to testing, and as we talked earlier, the club will have an SOP as it relates to testing its staff and some of the requirements that you'll have with the members depending on which sports they're playing and whatnot. What I would also like to add as a comment that I didn't mention earlier in our pre-meeting is that there is so much information being generated at such a quick speed. It's difficult to know what is real and what's not. And so I think you're doing a lot as an organization to communicate to the membership about what their expectations should be, especially as John and Tony said that would be a really good thing to do. But we also should set the expectation with the membership is that they have a responsibility as well. And it really is a two-way street, and that they need to be patient, because there will be policies put into place on May 1st, May 15th, whenever you reopen, that will be different in July and August and September, because you will have more information, because the experts will have had more information, and you'll be able to relax some of these measures that you'll be instituting in a proper way. And it's good to know that you're going to get sort of a life science sort of core team, advisory team to help navigate through this, because as a person that reads about this every day, and we're all bombarded on, you know, what we hear on television, it is very difficult for the average person to sort of filter out what's real and legitimate and what is not. So again, thank you for the time. I think you're being proactive and taking a leadership role. I'm glad to hear that you're working well with the governor as well.
Thanks. I got to lighten it up a little bit. We were talking about some very heavy topics. I want to put a shout out to TK. Him and his wife are working through an adoption process right now. And I got a pretty exciting email from him yesterday. I don't want to put any jinx or bad juju on this, but he's been working so hard to be able to adopt a new family member. TK, any words of wisdom?
Yeah. We didn't talk about it in the pre-session, but yeah, it's been a 2-year process for us. And as you can imagine, what's going on in the world affects everybody differently. So, you know, it affects the way we just go about our daily lives. It affected our process in terms of all of the specifics, the hoops you have to jump through to try to go through this process. So we are within a month, hopefully, of a delivery date, matched with a mother on the East Coast. All the other logistical items that come into play. How do you travel? How does a hospital allow an adoptive parent potentially into the delivery room? The corollary that comes back into our lives within the club and the active lifestyle spaces, you can prepare a lot, you can do a lot of work, and then sometimes you just have to roll with it. And I think in our personal lives, we've kind of adopted that policy and are getting to the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of being thankful and a little bit more optimistic instead of having to be a little bit guarded. And then similarly on the club side, which wasn't the intended segue, I know, but it does allow us to get to a spot where we've done so much work over the last month to put ourselves in a position to be able to open our properties back to our members. And so ever since the 16th of March, we've been planning and spending our times. How do we create one-way traffic flow around property? How do we create appropriate waiting zones for people that they are now not unaccustomed to from living the rest of their lives? And how do we slow down a little bit? You know, we kind of recognize that as the pace of our world runs, you know, members would fly past the front desk and say an 8-digit membership number. And we didn't quite have that connectivity with everybody. So we've spent a lot of time trying to think about how we can put these processes in place all around the property, reservation systems for items, and then also just making sure that people understand that we're also thankful to come out of where we've been. And when we get that privilege, you know, we need to stop and kind of make sure that we're happy with what we've been able to accomplish. And at the Bay Club, we won't be happy until we can get all the way back. We do have an understanding of the new normal, and we've been focusing on that pretty heavily, but doing the work here on property, building our plans, making sure the members are aware of how differently the club will operate and look, but in a good way. I think a lot of people might have questions, and we'll be able to share some of that information here in the short run, either on our regional Facebook pages, which are a great opportunity for us to share information about our properties, or through series like this.
Thanks. Well, I think it's important for everybody to as we talk to the Bay Club community, it's the hearts that are in this company. And sometimes, you know, yeah, we do run a business and it comes off sometimes without enough heart to it. And I think this has really made us all focus on what's unbelievably important and to celebrate some of the great relationships and communities that have formed over the 40 years that this company has been together. Our heart's always in it, but it may never come across correctly. And TK is one of those golden people that we have in our shop. So we're all rooting for you and your family.
Thank you. Yeah, the support that we get from the community and from our team here at the Bay Club, you know, if for anybody who's been through it, it's kind of an interesting, you don't want to put too much out there for fear of kind of being hurt through the process. We've had over 12 failed matches in the last 2 years that we've gone through in terms of matching with a expecting mother and then not having it work out. So it's great that the inner circle can start to get a little bit bigger, and nowhere through this process have we felt anything other than supported from, you know, Matthew and Annie at their level, and then, you know, my teammates here in the South Bay who are always throwing up their hands to help in any way. So excited for the next month on a couple of different levels for sure.
John, I think you came onto the call thinking you had this in the bag as the 1984. You were going to get the champion, and Tony took you out with the 75 throw in there. So
yeah, absolutely. But I thought Tony has some very salient points that I certainly echo. I also just want to congratulate Todd, and I hope you keep us posted of the progress in the newsletter, or another communications challenge. I would like to also just kind of thank the management staff again, not only for advising us about how to navigate this difficult time for us all, and I think Michael mentioned psychologically, I think that's gotten to be kind of a big surprise for a lot of us, that all of a sudden, a lifestyle has been somewhat altered significantly and will be for quite some time, and recognizing that and acknowledging that and moving on. I think that's going to test all our flexibility, which is, of course, something we go to the club for, is to keep ourselves flexible physically. Now we're going to have to do it mentally. In the communications element too, we talked a little bit earlier about queuing. I hope you do include sort of a step-by-step instruction about how that's going to work, because I think a lot of people who have been here in the South Bay, having to go out shopping, have gone through this and are going to wonder exactly how this is going to work with the Bay Club. But I'm sure you'll do a great job of that. The other thing, Matthew, that I would suggest is you guys have done such an outstanding job in researching and contacting and, dare I say, government relations to move this ball ahead. I kind of sell the organization and highlight some of these factors. Set yourselves up as experts, because you really are, and you've invented a lot of new processes and things that I think may be useful to other companies, as you mentioned. So I'd highlight that to the members, because I think one of the things here in the Valley, we all love innovation and the new thing, and I think you've invented a number of these. So congratulations on that. But other than that, the only other suggestion, sort of a new thing, is given that a number of the activities are going to be moving to the outside, with the weather getting better, I don't know, have you considered an activity that I've been engaging in a lot since I don't have access to the clubs, is hiking. As the local parks start reopening again, a lot of them have been closed, but starting hiking clubs might be a way for good social distancing, getting people out in the fresh air, getting some exercising, and trying a new thing, trying your flexibility. So that's just a suggestion.
It's good. It's good. Well, again, thank you for being with us for so many years and your insight to things. JVM, you want to talk a little bit about technology and this whole concept of, I don't want to steal the term from Open Table, but the Open Table concept that we're going to be introducing at the end of this week to the membership base?
Absolutely. It's definitely, the thought process is, how do we balance the member experience to maintain a high quality of experience and have the right level of traffic and flow throughout the property that we can support well. So we are looking at the concept of rolling out a reservation system that will allow members to reserve amenities, whether it's a lane in a swimming pool, a tennis court, a spot in a group exercise class, in addition to a piece of equipment on the fitness floor. So really looking at creating a reservation system for members to use that will roll out via Bay Club Connect. So if anyone isn't on Bay Club Connect, I'm going to put a shameless plug in right now that we would love to help you get on Bay Club Connect, because that will be your portal to make those reservations. And it's really about having the right balance of safety and member experience in every amenity of the club. For our group exercise experience, we're moving that outside. So it will be a lot of social distancing. Tennis courts can allow for a lot of 10 by 10 boxes that will mark the participant's spot. And it is a great opportunity to get people outside, active, and yet still together in that, because we're really a company of communities, member communities and associate communities. And we look forward to finding the right balance to bring those all back together. Also, I have to say congratulations, Todd. I'm very excited for you. And you guys get to see, I call Todd every day, multiple times a day. TK is my lifeline. I love that guy. And now everybody gets to see why. So it's a fantastic team to be a part of. And we are working really hard to find the right balance to get our members back.
Great. Thanks, JVM. All right, AA, your show.
Well, we get to my favorite part, and I really loved the conversation. This was an interesting panel today. So I'll start with a thank you for your observations, your support, and also suggestions. We really take all of this to heart, and it'll be part of what we do as we look to reopen. This part of what lies ahead is we get to say what we're thankful for and shout out a small business. And I am lucky to have the opportunity to every day say what I'm thankful for. So I think about this a lot. And today, coming off of 10 days of spring break with my children home, I am going to be incredibly grateful for their teachers come Monday. So I'm going to give a shout out to them. I don't think I've shouted them out yet, but that's who I'm really looking forward to seeing again on Monday morning. In my small business, we had ended up at the dry cleaners this past week. And this is, my dry cleaners is a very small little business here in Alamo. And she was sharing with me that because everyone's working from home, her business is down 90%, which, not a surprising unintended consequences. But what she started doing is making masks for every single one of her customers and handing them out to them. I think it's just an effort of goodwill so that we continue to remain loyal. And so, all of these industries have been affected in so many different ways. And that was one that I hadn't even thought of until this week, but just a little bit of a shout to them and know that they're working hard to get through this and save their own little business. So with that, why don't I go to you, Jen?
Thank you, Annie. Definitely grateful and thankful for the people in my life. My husband, my daughter, absolute rocks. And thankful that my parents and the rest of my family are all safe and healthy. And then thankful for my Bay Club family. We have started each day together with a Zoom call, and I hope that's our new normal because I love starting the day together. The work we've been doing over the past 4 weeks has been very rewarding. And as we get closer to a reopening date, it's just so great. I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. Shout out is to the Downtown Campbell Survival Project. So I live in Campbell, and the downtown is a thriving location with lots of locally owned small businesses, mainly retail and restaurants. And a lot of those establishments are people that have lived in the area for decades, grown up in the area, and they are all really trying to collaborate to find a way to get through this time. And so what they've come up with is a website called Downtown Campbell Survival Project, and it's a guide for all of the dining options that people can take advantage of for pickup and to go, and to encourage people to support the businesses in downtown. Any purchase of $25 or more at any of their establishments puts people in a drawing for a gift card once a month. So they're trying to give back while they encourage the patronage. So support the downtown, because I think that's what makes it feel like a hometown.
I love that creative idea that they've had. That's really impressive. Todd, let's go to you.
My thanks probably goes to the ability to keep the structure and stability in my life, especially during this time. A lot of friends in this industry who are not in the position that we're in at the Bay Club. Yes, I might be able to spend a little bit more time homeschooling our 6-year-old, which my wife, I'm super thankful for doing that. But the fact that we can get up and spend, our days and some of our sleepless nights focusing on projects like this has been a real rock for me. So I'm thankful that we're in a position to do that. I come from a military background. My father served for 24 years. And last time I was on, I shouted out a local business, and I was trying to think a little bit larger than that this time, not to find somebody we haven't thanked specifically, but I think about military installations domestically and abroad, continuing to do what they do to provide support, articles of soldiers shifting into creation mode for PPE, not just being soldiers, but being agents of change and support. So I want to thank, those resources that we have that, frequently called unsung heroes, but especially at this time, especially National Guard, who are, kind of always ready. So that's my thanks from my heart.
That's a great shout out. Thanks, Todd. And also my congratulations. Keep my fingers crossed for good luck. Mr. Peters, I'll go to you.
Great, thanks, Annie. Well, obviously I'm thankful that my family is healthy, my extended family is healthy, but I'm also thankful that we are experiencing this pandemic at a point in time when we have technology such as Zoom and email and texting, where we can maintain social connections without being socially present. So that's just been a very nice side effect, I guess, of the technology that we all enjoy day in, day out. In terms of shout outs, a group of businesses that has been hurt probably as bad as any other business is the local restaurant business. And we have a couple of members at our club at Boulder Ridge, Dean and Darren DiVincenzi, who own the Double D Sports Grill in Los Gatos and Forbes Mill Steakhouse in Los Gatos. And we've been making an effort in our family to participate in at least 3 to 5 days a week in doing takeout from Double D's for lunch or dinner. So I'd encourage everybody that has a local restaurant that they like, that if they are doing takeout, let's provide support as much as we can to those restaurants and help them get through this difficult time.
2 of my favorites. I will definitely look to support them when I can get back down there. Mr. Crockett, I'll go to you.
Thank you. I have this wonderful life, and I get to tell people about it every day. And much of the challenges that I faced in my life is because I have a smoking hot wife who supports me and backs me in everything I do. And so my big shout out goes to her. She's a senior vice president. She's a big shot at Genentech. And yet she finds the time to make all these dishes and cook for us now. We have 2 high schoolers doing homeschooling, and I have my college senior niece living with us, and my wife juggles all this. So I am very, very fortunate to have the life that I have because of my wife. Also, with respects to just commenting, following on the comments about the restaurants, the local restaurants, I live in San Carlos. We have an awesome downtown restaurant scene, which has virtually been shut down. And so I know many of the people that own those restaurants, and it's very difficult for them and their employees. And so I wish, the best for them, and I'm sure things will work out. But the last piece that I'd like to leave you all with is that we will get through this, and we will be better for it.
Thank you for that. The positivity, I think, is, every day finding something to just go back to is really powerful. So I appreciate that sentiment. Mr. Klonick, I'll go to you.
You can call me John, Annie. I would have to say I'm particularly grateful and thankful for living in this area with such a large body of bright, energetic, optimistic people. I think this area has really kind of grabbed the bit in their teeth and run with it as far as making things better. And everybody kind of views this, what could be considered quite a dilemma, as an opportunity. And that goes all the way through the valley. And I would include certainly the Bay Club as a real strong innovator in their space. As far as a shout out, we don't eat out a lot. And we do have one favorite restaurant, or actually there are 2. It's called Dish and Dash. One's in Sunnyvale, one's in Cupertino. They serve very good Mediterranean food. The other shout out is I would have for the post office and the UPS people who managed to keep the logistics going. Without that, it would be quite difficult. My wife's a university professor at San Jose State and also at De Anza. And as you probably know, they're all closed. And so now we've had to go to a very quick pivot to doing everything online. And so being able to get the appropriate computer equipment to set up a home studio so she can teach a course through Zoom or other means has been immensely helped by the efforts of Amazon, and UPS and so on and so forth.
So we are surviving on our deliveries. That is for sure. I'm very grateful every time they come.
Thank you.
Lyda, I'll go to you.
As far as thankful, I'm truly, truly thankful for the Boulder team that we have here. We've always been very close knit, but we've just started supporting each other just a totally different fashion, and calling each other and checking in on each other, seeing if anybody needs anything. Had Benny, our chef here, come in and make a large pot of soup and package it up, and had employees come up and pick up some soup. We have one associate that just beat cancer 2 days before all of this happened. So we make sure that he has what he needs in order to get by and not have to go into our local stores. As far as thank yous and shout outs, John, you took mine as far as the delivery service that comes up here and just gives us the supplies that we need, and the little items that you just forget about that you rely upon. And just take that extra second to say thank you, and just let them know that they're appreciated, because they're like, this is like Christmas time over here, how many boxes they're delivering. And you'd be surprised of just a sincere thank you, how far it goes. And they kind of turn around and they're like, you know, you're welcome. And just be nice to each other and have each other's back.
Thanks, Lyda. Mr. Silvera, I'll go to you.
Well, I'd like to start by thanking, it's the courtside community has helped our families all stay together. The exchange of the funny text or the funny emails, 80% of the blondes are going to disappear after this, or the new norm for the male haircut will be the bowl look. And, all of those sorts of things have been very helpful in keeping us, at least on the smiling side of this thing. In terms of shout out, a couple of them. One would be, there's a women's organization called the Indian Business Professional Women's Association, who have sewn so far about 600 masks for us that we've been able to bring over to Good Sam, and to, we're really focusing on the nursing homes now, so providing masks for those folks. This group has done just an amazing job. We thank them. In terms of the restaurants, Los Gatos is terrific, as we all know, but there's one, a restaurant opened just before the start of this called the Italian Brothers. And it's a small little restaurant in the main street there. That's a wonderful little restaurant. And I'd like to give them a shout out to hang in there and look for support for those folks.
Oh, that's a great one. And I love the story of the women's group. My aunt and her quilters group are making masks for everybody. So it's incredible to see the pivot that people have done in this time. Robin, I'll go to you.
All right. So I'm incredibly thankful for the frontline associates that we have worked incredibly hard to keep whole through all of this. We often talk about our obligation as the early veterans of this industry to pay it forward. And I take that incredibly seriously. I think about that all of the time. Those who are going to take the torch from us one day. And as I started out with, I started at the front desk in college, not knowing that this would be a career path for the long term, because at that time it really just wasn't known that this is a viable long-term career path in our industry. It just hadn't, the industry was too young at that point in time. And to have paved the path for those who will carry it forward for us when we're no longer here doing this is incredibly important. And, to keep those folks with us through all of this, and to carry them through the learnings, and, they're going to be the generation of, this is going to be in the history books, right, for their children. And so, for them to learn from this, to stick with us, to, go on to become the, Todd Kramers and Jennifer Van Muckies of the world one day is an honor and an obligation that we take very, very seriously. And so I'm just so grateful that, we have kept them all, by our sides through all of this, and we'll continue to support them so they can go on to thrive in this industry and their careers in the years to come. And in terms of the business, so members Alex and Sarah Holt started flights in Los Gatos and have been extremely instrumental in terms of taking a leadership role early on in this process in the community to start a fund and help those that are the most vulnerable in the community. The seniors, making sure they're getting food, making sure the hospital workers are getting food. So they've taken a strong leadership role. Their restaurant is, just a couple years old. It's right in downtown. And the role that they've played in terms of leadership and helping the community has been quite an example for everybody. So I want to give them a shout out.
Great, thank you for that. Boss, I'm going to pass it to you before we close.
Well, first and foremost, thank you to everybody today to take the time out of your schedule to chat with us. As we've pivoted now with what lies ahead to be able to spend time with our membership base, I think I'm going to stay consistent with my thank you to our customers and to our Bay Club family. It's interesting when we talk with the team, everybody's like, the Courtside members really just want to know about Courtside. They don't care about Bay Club, they just care about Courtside. Or the Decathlon members just care about Decathlon. And, I know that all those other people don't, but this is what we care about. Boulder Ridge cares about Boulder Ridge. And what's awesome about this business is that passion exists at every one of our properties, up and down the West Coast from San Diego to Portland, Oregon. And one of the things that we work on really hard and maybe not get right all the time is to try to figure out a way to express our gratitude for how long people have been with us and how great it's been to watch this industry grow up. You hear somebody like Robin talking about one of our core philosophies is paying it forward in our company, which is, we look at ourselves as the second generation of this industry, and we take it immensely personal that we've got to be able to pass the torch off to the next generation to basically to make this a real business and a real industry and a real career path for people to do great by people. And all the great things that it's created for everybody on this screen's lives, that this is a career. You go to schools today and major universities have programs for this category. And I always tell the funny story is that, I'll go back home to Albany, New York, and my parents will be like, I'll be in the kitchen with all of their friends, and they're like, so you're still in the gym business? So that's what you do? You're in the gym business? Why don't you get a real job like your brothers and sisters, and when are you going to grow up and really get focused on what you're doing for life? And, we love this business, and we love the communities that are created, and we're trying our best to figure out how to show that appreciation. So our thanks throughout these regionals is going to be about thanking our customers and our community and the years and years that people put into our community. My local shout out is going to be to One Medical. They are a boutique hospital operator that is providing services in the communities that we do business in, from San Diego to Portland. And they are, you can get doctor's appointments, you can do telechecks with them, you can do online discussions, relatively inexpensive incremental fee to get those services. And I think they've done a great job. And a lot of our members and our community are engaged with One Medical. So huge shout out to One Medical would be my local business. AA?
Well, I want to say thank you. This was quite an incredible panel that we had today. There are very few businesses in our space that get to have a group of members that have been with them for all of them over 20 years. We are totally grateful as a team to be able to have members that are willing to come and spend 2 hours with us. We're filming this on a Saturday morning, telling us, suggestions, engaging, but also you've been with us the entire time. And so for that, I want to just take a moment and say thank you. We are proud of that. we'll continue to work really hard so that you want to continue to stay with us. And we can't wait to see you back at the clubs. We are all just, hungry to figure out our ways of being appropriately social distance, but we really want to see our members. We miss them. And so with that, we're going to wrap episode 15 of What Lies Ahead. We hope you enjoyed the conversation today, and we will join our North Bay team for the next episode. Have a great day.